You should pirate video games. It's illegal, yes, but sometimes games are just begging to be pirated. There's companies that charge $70 for games that play the same as their decade-old counterparts while still including microtransactions. And if you've got good enough hardware, you can play just about every Switch game better than the console itself using emulators. The Nintendo Switch has had some serious piracy issues throughout its lifespan. Most Nintendo consoles do, but the Switch had it real bad. The fact that it was homebrewed and had emulators less than a year after its launch in 2017 is devastating. Not completely devastating, but it's ironic that most of the time, the best way to play these games is on PC. However, piracy is an expansive issue that doesn't just apply to these games. Everyone knows about the issues when emulating retro games, but what about recompilation projects where developers dissect and mutilate older games to make them run naturally on computers? The legality is a bit iffy on them, but it definitely feels illegal to play. The reality with piracy is that you'll never really get punished for doing it. The people piloting the ship typically get sued at the wazoo, or at the yuzu, but you'll be fine, unless these companies really want to make a lesson out of you. Then you're screwed. But that hardly happens. The real concern with piracy is your own morality. Realistically, if you're emulating SNES, N64, even GameCube games, you're hardly going to affect the finances of Nintendo, if at all. The only person you're hurting is the eBay reseller who's gonna scam you on a copy of Glover. However, the Switch is still a living console, even if it's on life support. Emulating that is more concerning. But maybe you can excuse it. After all, Nintendo is massive, and these games are selling so well, what's another $60 gonna do? You're not wrong, but is it right? That's up to you. I may not be best at this myself, but when I have the financial ability, I want to pay for the games I play. If I didn't, there's no way I would have spent $60 to play Princess Peach Showtime. But I'm glad I did, because I actually really enjoyed the game, and I think it deserves the financial recognition. But if I'm being completely honest, there are some recent titles that I haven't received completely legitimately, and I still think they deserve the money, but I'm no longer capable of buying them. Does that mean I shouldn't play them? Most people would say yes, and I might even agree. If you can't support the people making the product for you, then you shouldn't reap the benefits of it. But there are extenuating factors. In certain countries, games are exceedingly expensive, making piracy an incredibly popular choice. But to fix it, many publishers on Steam opt to charge less in those regions. However, simply being a broke boy who needs his Zelda fix doesn't excuse you from pirating. But then again, we do have certain games that you absolutely should pirate. Look, I got NBA 2K26. Is it the exact same game as last year's? Technically no, but as an outside observer, it's the same, plus $10. Nowadays, it feels like most games released are a direct copy of their predecessor. Sports games, Just Dance, Call of Duty, even Pokemon, though that's sort of changing. I mean, hardcore fans will point out the differences all day, saying, no, it's not the exact same, the roster's different, the graphics are better, it's $10 more expensive. But at their core, they're the exact same. And not just the same the way Mario Kart and Garfield Kart are the same. I'm not saying Black Ops 6 and Modern Warfare 2 are the same, because that would be insane, even as someone who's hardly played either, but the fact that some of these games like Just Dance and Call of Duty aren't even giving their games their own spot on the console, rather merging the games into a launcher for all of them, is striking. They're not even trying to hide the fact that it's a repackaged form of an older game. So, should you pirate these games? Well, after advising my lawyer friend, I withdraw any statements or advice that may encourage you to break DMCA or trademark laws. However, if you were to acquire these games, such as Just Dance or certain sports titles for less than retail price, I wouldn't tell anyone. But how about something else? Have you guys noticed that just about every one of Nintendo's games on the Switch's life has leaked days or even weeks before releasing? Could you blame someone for taking a little sneak peek and playing Donkey Kong Country Returns a week before it releases 15 years after it released? It wouldn't affect many people since you can't play these leaks without a modded console or a strong enough computer, but if you have those, it's completely feasible that you could beat Tears of the Kingdom hours before it even released using Yuzu. Which is why they were sued into oblivion. Now, we should get something clear first. Emulation is not about preserving games. Not for most people, at least. Like I said, older games are becoming inaccessibly expensive, and that's not just because of inflated prices. Many of these games are becoming nearly impossible to find, and emulation is the #1 way to save it for future generations. Switch emulation, PS4 emulation, even Wii to an extent, these have next to nothing to do with preservation. Every physical and even digital copy of these games will rot away one day, making digital copies a necessity to expand their lifespans. But when you can find these games on store shelves without an issue, it's not exactly preservation when you're downloading Breath of the Wild for the 6th time just to add Waluigi mods or some junk. I, for one, decided to homebrew my Wii U, so I could actually dump my games, giving me a digital copy of something I already bought. Is that okay? No. But who cares? Nintendo definitely hates it, but unless you brag about it online, there's no way they could ever find you. Private game dumps like this are sure to be edified into law that they're legal one day, so I think it's the perfect way to emulate. But if you want to play games you don't necessarily own, you'll be sent back to the seas. Which brings me back around. Should you pirate games? Yes. And no. Realistically, the biggest problem that comes with pirating is having a device strong enough to play all the games you want. Trust me, if all you had for your childhood was a 2007 iMac to emulate the Wind Waker, you were living rich. But if morals are important to you, I believe there's a perfect way to treat piracy. Treat it like a credit card, but without any interest. You can download a game for free, but don't act like this is an all-you-can-eat buffet. You're taking a loan out, and if you're enjoying the game enough to play it for longer than an hour, you're making a promise that you will buy it in full the moment you can. This is incredibly important for indie games, because they're affected the most by piracy. But you should also apply this to AAA games as well, because if you like something, but you don't show any financial support at all, we're just gonna end up with more sports slop, because those people will buy anything. Most of all, this maxim benefits from experimentation. You should play games that interest you, but if you're 70% through the game and still haven't given the developers a dime, that's where I see an issue. But after all of this, nobody is perfect. And if you see my Steam Deck library, you'll probably say I'm the worst of them all. But I think this should give us all something to strive for. And hey, maybe you're a good boy through and through and never once touched the devil's ship. And in that case, I hope you've at least found some interest in the reasons why someone would commit such a heinous crime. Well, I'll see you after I'm finished with the rest of my community service, as part of my sentence for pirating $14,000 worth of video games. Until then, keep cool. Bye.